Well, some of you may know me. Most of you don't. I have been in business in southeastern Wisconsin primarily for about 40 years. And about a year and a half ago, I decided that when you've been in business for 40 years, how are you going to finish off your career? And after running companies and founding companies and buying companies and selling companies, that type of thing, it seemed to me that a good way to kind of finish things off would be to pass on what I've learned to the next generation. And it almost seems kind of, a waste if you've gained all that knowledge and information, you sit in a couple boards of directors and you pass it down to a couple companies, where I thought, boy, if I could go back and really pass that to an entire generation, or possibly even two, if I could live that long, I guess, that would be probably the way to really finish off a career. So that's what I've done. I actually still do own a business in the West Coast, a small business that I do not run every day. But I am now in academia. I've been with Carroll University since, I think, November of last year, so about a year and a half. And I said, if I'm going to go in, I'm going to go all in. And I did. And so I made a fairly significant investment in the university. It is my alma mater. I hate to admit this, but I graduated in 1975. This is my 50th anniversary this year, which is kind of fun when I think about the fact that I had my beginning and my start here in this area, and then obviously lived all over the world. The school has been strong. We just graduated our 101st business class this past weekend. So that's kind of a nice badge. Last year was really fun with the 100th year graduating class. We were one of the first business schools in the state of Wisconsin. Let me give you just a couple of slides on the history, because it's actually pretty fascinating. Oh, back one. Is it? If it comes back. All right. We were the first four-year university in the state of Wisconsin. We were founded in 1846. If you think about that, that's 179 years ago. We were founded by two gentlemen that came out from Princeton University, which was a Presbyterian school back in the day. And what's interesting about universities across the United States, as you know, a lot of them are affiliated with religious orders of some sort. That's the way they were founded. So Princeton decided to send a couple guys out to the prairies, which is what we were, and actually walking show was called Prairieville back in those days, and they founded Carroll. The two gentlemen that founded Carroll went a little bit further west 2 years later and founded this other university you probably heard of, University of Wisconsin. So we were actually founded 2 years before the state was founded and 2 years before the University of Wisconsin was founded. Went through an incredible history. When you think about this, it really is pretty fascinating. There's history books written on the university because it is a prestigious American university in our midst that we really don't know much about. But when the Civil War, think about that, when the Civil War happened, the only ones left were women. And back in those days, women didn't go to university. Well, they did it. They went to Carroll because that's the only way that Carroll could have survived, is to have women in the curriculum. We were the first nursing school. We're the first medical school in the United States, or in the state of Wisconsin, rather. How did that happen? Well, after the Civil War, what was happening? These guys were coming back from the war, and they were not in good shape. And so we founded the first medical school. The medical school eventually transferred on to Marquette University. The nursing kind of ebbed and flowed through the years. We now have the #1 nursing school, and have had the #1 nursing school in the state for 20 years. And our health sciences are quite strong. But it was interesting. You go through, you read the history, the Civil War, World War I, World War II. Without women in our enrollment base, we would not have survived. 60% of our students today are women, which is not that unusual if you look at the demographics across the United States. A lot of universities are more female-oriented than male-oriented these days. Okay? We've got a strong long-term financial position, excellent graduation and retention rates, faculty to student ratio, 16 to 1. 16 to 1. That's kind of our secret sauce, always has been. I used to say when I was going to school at Carroll, you can run, but you can't hide. If you're not in class, and these were full professors, they would make sure that you were there, and obviously our ethos is quite strong. So the basis of the university is very, very strong. Next, we have a $100 million endowment, reserves about $19 million, healthy annual budgets, and we are currently raising $100 million, of which we've raised about $67 million to this point in time. And I'll show you at the very end where some of that money is going. We were rated by Bain & Company last year as the number 2 strongest financial institution of higher learning in the state of Wisconsin. Number 2. That's all publics, all privates. We were number 2. We got beat by one school. Madison. Kind of hard to beat. All our tax money going to the University of Wisconsin. But Madison, number 1. But against all the other state schools and privates, we were number 2. That's important in this day and age because of the fact that, people are wondering who's going to survive. We're going to survive. Not a lot may survive. The demographics of what's happening is since the recession, and you can count 18 years past the recession, what happened? People stopped having babies. So there's actually a cliff coming for all of higher learning. You're going to see it, you already see it in the high schools that are closing, grade schools that are closing. There'll be universities that'll be closing as well. And it doesn't, there's not a lot of recovery. Don't know about these Gen Xers and these millennials. They don't seem to want to have babies. I understand, I'm reading now that that's changing somewhat. Okay? This was something that I wasn't surprised. When I did the report for the governor back in 2012, I learned when I did, and this was Governor Walker, he asked me to take a look at workforce development and education in the state of Wisconsin. I put a report together. It was published in August of 2012. In that report, if you go back and look at it, there's a chart in that report. It looks just like this one. A third of all of our students in the state of Wisconsin in technical colleges, 16 campuses, a third already have a 4-year degree. Think about that. A third. Now, if you're a taxpayer, that's kind of tough. It's like double jeopardy. We've subsidized undergraduate, now we're subsidizing more technical college education for these students. That's 93,000 students this semester are in technical colleges, already have a 4-year degree. So you got to say, what happened? What's going on? And that sort of thing. Well, some of them are going back for advanced degrees or other certificates in their field. So it's not as bad as it really the statistic would show, but it's still a big number. What it means is that we've got students that were educated in the state of Wisconsin that don't really know what they want to do for a career. I mean, I didn't know. Most people don't know what to do. But you got to start mapping. We, I think, as an institution, have to map our degrees into the available jobs in the marketplace today. Help the students make the right choices. Don't just throw it up there. I'm going to sound horrible, and people in academia probably think I'm the devil, but in academia, it always is, we know what's best. We're going to put our curriculum in place. This is the curriculum we've had for years and years and years and years. It's served the public well for many, many years, and tweak it here, tweak it there. But they don't really, I don't believe they look at the market. Where are the jobs? So the first thing I did when I came in November of last year is I did a survey. I'll show you some of the results. It's very extensive, but I did a survey. These are the jobs that will be available in 2030 in Milwaukee and in Waukesha counties. So this is Milwaukee County and Waukesha County. You can see the big one there is educational services. That doesn't surprise anyone in Milwaukee. So Milwaukee's the orange, Waukesha County is the blue. That doesn't surprise anybody. Here's the good news about Milwaukee. We've got phenomenal health care. Phenomenal health care. Trust me, I've had health care in other places in the United States and around the world. We are the best. And that really is where a lot of the jobs are. So if you look at our curriculum, about half of the enrollment at Carroll University are in health sciences. I said we have the #1 nursing school. We also have the #1 physician assistant school, PT, OT, exercise science. 1,600 students are in health sciences. And guess what? We graduated a bunch of them last semester. I'm sitting next to the dean of the School of Health Sciences, and I'm looking at all these kids march across the stage. 400 kids. And I'm sitting there saying, do these kids all have jobs? He goes, oh yeah, they've all got jobs. And that's why. You have to just look at the statistics. Here's one that's interesting. If you look at the second one from the bottom is manufacturing. The blue is Waukesha County. And then again, the orange is Milwaukee. And then you got other things in there as well. But these are from state statistics. What's my reference? I didn't put it on that thing, but it's oh, I did. DWD, so the Department of Workforce Development in Madison. Next slide. Then I did Waukesha County only. This is not surprising maybe to many of you. Look at the top one, manufacturing. Waukesha County is a hotbed for many. Southeastern Wisconsin is, but Waukesha in particular. Waukesha County, 1,315 or 1,316 manufacturers. Think about that. I'm saying that can't be right. So I went back and double checked the number. That's exactly right. And if you look at Carroll University, we're the only university of higher learning in Waukesha County. The beauty of what we have in Waukesha County is you have Waukesha County Technical College and you got Carroll University. And if we have, and I have a great relationship with Rich Barnhouse, we got to make sure that we're complementing with each other in what we do. We don't want to double up, we don't want to bump against each other, because what we want to do is serve these jobs in Waukesha County and beyond. Okay, next. The top 3 talent needs over the next 3 years. It's kind of hard to read. It says industry-specific skilled labor, and that skilled labor does also pertain to not just machinists and welders and that type of thing, but skilled labor in general. The number 2 one, it's hard to read, you can't read it. This was interesting. And this is when I did my report back in 2012, consistent with the United States of America across almost every region. Sales and business development. Think about that. How many schools actually have a program on sales? Back in 2012, hardly any. In 2025, hardly any. But it's the second need here in Waukesha County, and it's always in the top 5 of the United States of America. The problem is students don't want to go to university to learn necessarily sales. They like to take marketing, but sales has to be part of that curriculum that we're looking at as well. If we're going to serve the marketplace, what happens is we graduate them, they come to your businesses, and then you got to figure out how to train them into sales, which is not what your job should be. You should be bringing students in that already have some skill sets. The last one, or the third top one, was administrative, which is accounting, finance, and those types of things. Okay, next. Again, impossible to read this. It's kind of bright in here. What's the number 1 problem? Lack of qualified applicants. Just what I said. If you look at the top needs and then you look at what the problem is, we're not turning out students that are meeting the demand of basically the marketplace. And there's a few other that come down before that. Finding workers that fit our business culture, wage levels, appropriate training and or education. Okay, next. All right, I thought I'd take a deep dive on just one discipline. So if you think about it, Wisconsin is the number 1 manufacturing state in the United States. The city of Milwaukee is number 2 in the United States, and it's been number 2 for about 10 years. It used to be number 1. We lost our position to San Jose. And if you've ever been to San Jose, they got massive manufacturing in San Jose, mostly in the microprocessor world and that type of thing. And we're shifting. I think this number could change, or our status could change too, with Microsoft moving in and more of these data centers coming in. But if you look at this, I just chose, and this is hard to read too, This is industrial engineering only. Okay? I'm going to tell you a few things about industrial engineering that are going to surprise you. It's the least popular engineering discipline of any. It's the least popular. Why? If you ask students, and I have, why do you not like industrial engineering? Well, it's manufacturing. It's dirty. It's all bad things. It's the stuff you see in movies. It's really bad. I said, well, you've been even watching Peaky Blinders or something like that on television, because that's not what it's like. It's not like that. But it's interesting. These are where the jobs posting in 2023. All right, that adds up to about 1,300 jobs. You can see the heat map on the right. The two top counties of the 5-state region, I'll call it, or 4-state region there: Milwaukee County, Waukesha County, and Ozaukee, number 3, as far as the highest demand. All right, so just those cities require about 1,300 industrial engineers that year. The state of Wisconsin needed 4,000 industrial engineers that year. 4,000. How many did we turn out? Between MSOE, UWM, Platteville, and I'm going to Madison. How many did we turn out? 191 that year. Oh, that's not the full story. That's how many we graduated. How many stayed in the state of Wisconsin? We lose 60% of our graduate engineers every year. 60%, that's 70, 75, 76 left that year for 4,000 jobs. Those students that graduated with industrial engineering, where did they go to work? Well, manufacturing, right? No. A third went to consultants. Why did they go to consultants? Because there's not enough industrial engineers. So what do companies have to do if they need an industrial engineer? They hire a consultant, because they can't hire them. So they have to bring some service in to help them. So a third of those 76 students went to consultants. Ready for this one? A third went into healthcare. Industrial engineers into healthcare? What? Yeah. Think about it. They shouldn't call it industrial engineering. I'm going to try this, and I'm probably going to fail. It should be called efficiency engineering or something like that, because it's a misnomer. The last third, or 20-odd, manufacturing. And where is the greatest need in Waukesha County? Manufacturing. There's only 1,300 manufacturers in Waukesha County. This is just one example of the shortage that we do have in our backyard. Okay, next. No. We lost. I think next is what we're doing as a school to address the issues. What I felt what we had to do is, first of all, figure out where the jobs are. All right, probably that's the next one, or is that the beginning? Once you figure out where the jobs are, you gotta change things up. So if you notice, the school is not the School of Business, it's the School of Business and Technology. Is that a new concept? No. There's about 24 other schools in the United States. Of the thousands, there's 24 other schools that have combined business and technology. And when I saw that, when I saw the jobs, when I saw what we needed, I said, I don't want to just have a business school. I want to have a School of Business and Technology. When I talked to the CEOs of the manufacturers just in Waukesha County, I said, what's your biggest issue with your engineers and your technical people? They said they have no business acumen. One of the CEOs here in Waukesha, I've spent some time with him and his engineers. I spent a lot of time doing research back in my first year here. I said, so give me an example. He said, well, I've got industrial engineers. He said they do great work. They're technically really, really strong. But he said, we're moving to robotics. He said, I don't know a thing about robotics. He said, I'm not going to go into my board of directors and try to convince them to spend $10 million on robots when I don't know how they work. He said, I can't get an industrial engineer that can stand up in front of my board and explain to them, what's the return on investment of that $10 million? He said, I need engineers that are multitasked, engineers that can actually communicate, engineers that know how to plan, engineers that, he said, I'm getting great technical engineers from the 4 schools that put out industrial engineers. I'm getting great students, or great engineers, with one exception. They gotta be more rounded. I'll give you the best example. That same CEO just took a young lady that we graduated from business school 2 years ago and moved her into the engineering department because she had a little bit of background. Her father has a business where she had some background. She's got an aptitude towards more of the engineering. She's going to be a project manager in the engineering department. Anyway, those are just small examples of why bringing those two together, and there's a lot of examples. We did a lot of work to make sure that when we put that together, it made sense. So these are the new programs. Again, I'm only in a year and a half, and the first year was mostly research. And academia doesn't move real fast because these things have to be approved, they have to be staffed, they have to be funded. But these are the new programs that we have in the fall of 2025. Mechanical and engineering, industrial and systems engineering, drone engineering, business analytics, artificial intelligence, and emerging technologies. We've got another 5 that we're working on behind this grouping. But these are ready to go. Now here's the good news. We've got over 20 young people signed up for the engineering for the fall. I think that's kind of small. Everyone tells me it's a brand new program. What are you talking about? That's really good. I think that will grow. What we have to do is work downstream with the high school counselors and the parents and make sure they understand where the jobs are. I didn't put the slide in here. What do you think the starting salary is for an industrial engineer in Waukesha County? $98,000 a year. Starting salary for an industrial engineer. If you want an industrial engineer, you're going to have to pay for one. You'll get one maybe. You'll get one of the 74 that we graduated in the entire state that stayed here. Good luck. We need to get more engineers out there. We need to push them through the system. And we need to increase the thing. Drone engineering, so is drone engineering? We've had a drone program for a couple years. When I first started, I got a phone call. And the guy says, hey, when can I talk to you about getting some of your drone engineers internships? I said, we don't have any graduated yet. He goes, well, I'll take what you got. You know the demand for drone engineers right now in the United States? Off the map. It's crazy. Not in Wisconsin, but the West Coast. All in defense. Huge demand. And that's going to grow up exponentially. So we've got some kids signed up for drone engineering for the fall. Okay, next. All right, this was interesting. I'm putting all this together on the undergraduate side, and we're also making sure the grad program is set up properly, and I've made some changes there too. But I was giving just a brief update at Waukesha County Business Alliance 3 months ago, and I'm with people like yourselves, and they said, so what do you got for us? I said, what do you mean, what do I have for you? They said, we need help. We're in desperate need of help. I said, in what respect? And they said, all respects, you name it. And these were some of the bigger companies in Waukesha County. And I said, so what do you mean by help? And they said, do you do sales training? No. Do you do training on project management? No. What training do you do for corporations? I said, none. And they said, no, we need your help because we've tried it ourselves and we're not very good at it. You're educators, you're probably pretty good at it. I said, yes, we are. So we've done 2 things. The first thing we've done is this, and this is what we've set up for the fall of 2025. These are the boot camps that we've set up, and these are short, sweet, to the point, quick. I wanted to start out small and give everyone kind of a shot to take a look at some things. So we've got manufacturer sales training. We're actually piloting that right now. We have a group tomorrow, right? Yeah, so we're piloting that this month. We got a small group from manufacturers in there. I made it manufacturing sales training. The gentleman that does this, he's a professor in our MBA program, but he's also from the industry. And I said, can you put together a program? So 2 or 3 weeks, he put a program together. We're running it right now. That's the pilot. He's going to run another one. It's 4 sessions, 2 hours each, I think is how he set it up. And we're charging $500 a head. The next one he's got is Finance for Non-Financial Employees, 6 hours in-person interactive simulation. Do we know what we're thinking? This is kind of in motion, but yeah, we don't know dates yet for this. We will do them in September, October, and probably the first half of November. And we're not going to charge much for these, a couple $100 type of thing. Strategic planning, 1 to 2 days. It's probably going to be more like 2 days. You can't teach someone strategic planning in an hour or a 6-hour session. And quite frankly, it's just getting people started to think about strategic planning. The next one, project management. This is off the map as far as demand. We have that in our MBA program, but we don't have it in our undergraduate program. This fall we will in the winter session. Project management is required. And then team planning, which is interesting. Talking to a lot of the CEOs in the area and from experience, as you know, planning is not done by one person. You don't get what you want. It's a team effort. What's interesting, and this came out of my discussions a couple months ago, they want some of their younger people involved because they got the freshest eyes, they got the freshest minds to put together some new ideas on team planning. What's the problem? They don't know how to work together as a team. They've never worked together as a team. They've sat in front of a computer screen going through COVID. So what we're doing is this one's really going to be a fun one. And that'll be, when we say 1 to 2 days, again, we haven't put the whole curriculum together yet for these. We will advertise these probably within the next 30 days or so once we get them all done. But this was asked for by the people that morning. I said, all right, we can do that. So that was boot camps. These are quick, down to earth, get some help out there as fast as we can and make this kind of a regular thing. And it's a start. Next. The other thing we think we can do, and that is to map, this is more serious. This is to take our MBA program, of which we got 3 different phases. We got business analytics, we got business management, we got healthcare administration. Take those classes, those courses, and if you have a serious employee that wants to take a good business analytics class, they're nightly sessions. They're about 2 hours in length, and there's 8 of them. And they will get a certificate. And they can actually start stacking certificates. So if they want to take one for over a couple months, and they liked it, and they just want to expand again, and then again, they can all add that back towards, they'll get certificates, Carroll University certificates for that discipline, but they can also add that into eventually an MBA if they do enough of these. These things are 3 credits each in our world, in our MBA world, and an MBA is about 33 credits. So that'd be 10 of these to get an MBA. Okay. Excuse me. Next, the other thing we're doing, and this is fairly new too, we're doing corporate partnerships. This is where we actually go into a corporation, find out exactly what your need is, and do a specific program for your company. We've done this. We've done it online. We've done it in person. We've done 2. I'll tell you that we did it at Abbott Labs, and we're doing our second one at Abbott Labs. We did one with Swagelock. We're doing one for Norway, a company in Norway too. These are things where we will actually come in and specifically ask you what your need is, kind of map that course around what you need, and form that partnership, and it'll be basically for your employees. We actually will work through with you how much, how little, what are you really looking for, and basically customize it to what you need. We've got resources. The problem is that no one's really thought to deploy those resources differently than just teaching MBA type students or undergraduate students, by the way. Okay? And then this, we're going to build this. This will be the new building for our School of Business and Technology. We've got about half the money raised. This is not a $100 million building, but that $100 million relates to our health science needs and our business and technology needs. We hope to break ground on this before the end of the year, hopefully. This was announced about a year and a half ago when I first arrived. They kind of jumped the gun a little bit. They got all excited, but it's going to be very nice. It'll be on campus, and it'll be obviously architecturally kind of to blend in with the architecture on the campus. And I think that's what I got. So any questions? I left a lot of time for questions because I threw some different things at you that I don't know if you were looking for or not. Yeah.
From an academic and professional sense, you have a lot of professors who are doing these classes, these micro-learnings that are a little unusual for Carroll or any four-year university. You said one was had industry expertise. How are you ensuring that these courses are relevant with from translating the professor to the application?
Yeah. Yeah, that's a great question. Here's the good news. Of all the professors in the School of Business and Technology, I think there's only 2 that have not worked in industry. They've all worked in industry. And anyone that I hire going forward will have worked in industry. They got to know the real world. And I think I can think of 2. One who's in accounting, she's never worked in the real world, and another one that's in teaching economics. She's a true academic. The rest of them have pretty well worked in the real world. I say the real world, that sounds horrible. In the private sector, learning what it's all about in the private sector. We will limit some of these boot camps and that sort of thing to people that have the skill sets that are attuned to that. So for instance, the guy who's doing the sales training right now, he did that for a living in his career. So this was easy for him to do. He does it normally with the students. He teaches other classes too, but he's a professional. We have another gentleman in business analytics. Every professor's different. Every professor's got their own story. I was able to get him, but I had to allow him to do his side hustle. And his side hustle is consulting on business analytics. So he is perfectly matched to, he does it. And before he did that, for 20 years, he was a professional corporate trainer. So the talent is there that we're able to do this. And I really mean that. I want our students to have a clear idea of what the private sector that they're moving into is all about. Yeah.
Okay, so you have your engineers. And you said people need business skills. So usually, I work at one of the universities where they put out engineers and they don't have the business skills, so they have to go back and get some because the curriculum's already full.
Right.
So how are you managing that? Is it an extra year? Is it extra time?
The maximum years that we have is 4, and everyone says you can't get that done with engineering. It's impossible. You're not going to be able to get it done with engineering. We think we can. Okay. We think we can. Yet to be determined, I guess. But here's the dirty little secret. Most students coming out of high school today have college credits. And the kids that choose to go into engineering are usually really good in math, and they're really good in science, and they've got college credits. Here's the other thing that isn't really advertised. I think most schools are doing this now too. We are. We work with the high schools. We have high school students in some of our classes today. They've already taken some of our classes. So when they come in, they're coming in with a handful or a couple of handfuls of credits. The one thing that we have too, that we don't advertise as much as I think we should, we call it the Carroll 3. If you come in and you're not engineering, not accounting, not finance, but business administration, you want to come in and take business administration, you come in with college credits, we'll get you out in 3. And if you really want to work, we'll get you out in 4 with a MBA. You got to work. You got to work. I mean, that's hard work, but it's done. We've got students that are doing it. Matter of fact, some of our better athletes, they want that 4th year of eligibility. We've got a handful right now that they've graduated in 3, but now they're on their 4th year, and they're getting their MBA.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yes?
Some of those other classes, are you able, as a professional, to jump right in and take them, or are there prerequisites that require you?
Yes, great question. Engineering, absolutely. I mean, so typically though, on the engineering side, it's really on the math side. So if you're coming in with college credits and the math thing, you can breeze through. That's why we can get you out in 4, basically. On the other ones, the only one that's a little sticky is analytics. Analytics is it's not a cakewalk. You got to have some basic skill sets. So we actually tier it in our grad school. So we have business management, business analytics, healthcare administration. Those are the 3 disciplines in the MBA program. Business analytics, it's the only school that we've got where you actually have to sequence your classes. Because we found that the 2nd and 3rd classes are really fun and they're good classes. That's where you're getting the meat of the matter. But if your base skills aren't strong enough, they struggle a little bit. So we sequence those. That's about the only thing we do. There are some prerequisites in some of the other classes, but that's mostly on the undergraduate side. Trust me. If I could have gotten through Carroll University in 3 years, I was all in. But back in those days, we didn't get college credits. I mean, that wasn't a thing. I'm going to my granddaughter's graduation at UW La Crosse this weekend. She's a great little girl. She had straight A's, she had all these college credits. She took 1 class this semester. The first semester, she took 2 classes. I said, you should have been out of here in 3. And she goes, shh. Yeah. I said, yeah, right. She's a great little girl. She's worked, and she's contributed a lot towards, obviously, her tuition, that sort of thing. But some do, some don't. Me, I just wanted to go to work. I want to make money. Any other questions, comments? One thing I will implore you, and I'm going to tell everybody I talk to, I did my initial research, and it was actually kind of fun to do because it was a throwback to when I did the report for Walker back in 2012. The research back then was really extensive because obviously it turned into legislative bills and things like that on workforce development. The sad part about it is a lot of the things that we recommended on education reform, those were ones that were never acted on back in 2012. Couldn't get them through. As you read about and hear about now, it's very, very hard. The UW system is very, very hard to deal with. It's a big system and it's hard. The real challenge that they're going to have is the same challenge we had in 2012. We already saw this cliff starting to develop. And we already knew we had too many campuses for the number of students that we've got. But you pick. Which one should we close? River Falls? Stout? Talk to the people up in that area. What do they think about that? Parkside, back then, was struggling badly. Now Parkside is doing great. So it's a really, really hard thing to do. Yeah?
Broader, right as a follow-up to that broader question, with UW Waukesha, UWM Waukesha closing, have you seen a pop in enrollment?
Yeah. We have record enrollment for the fall. Record. It's the most ever. Now that's not that unusual for a lot of schools. I think in Wisconsin are doing pretty good for the fall enrollment. For our school, we were up 10% last fall, and didn't really do anything different. This fall, we're up about 16% over last year. I expect that to continue to grow. And again, it's not a fair comparison necessarily because we've got engineering rolled in there and the drone engineering rolled in there too now, and the drone program. So it's a little bit of apples and oranges, but I'll take credit for it. Yeah, yeah.
So you said you have a good relationship with the president of Waukesha.
Yeah.
So are you looking at some of your relations?
Yes, absolutely. So here's a great example. Rich puts out, he's got about 100 associate engineering students. And about 60 to 70% go on for their degrees. MSOE and UWM. And no offense to MSOE, I know they're here. I think UWM might be here too. I want those students. And so I happen to be going to see Rich after I'm done here. We really want to make sure that they've got the 2 years in. Now they have basically manufacturing, mechanical, electrical are their 3 associate degree measures. They are one of the few technical colleges that are ABIT approved. ABIT accreditation is what all engineering schools must really have. I'm going out there to talk to mechanical engineers. We want to figure out how we can get them in and get them out in 2. Typically, when they leave WCTC and they go to UWM and MSOE, it's 3 years. I think we can get them out in 2. Was it?
It was a pretty good program. Yeah.
No. And Brian, do you know Brian?
I do know Brian.
Brian was a rock star. Brian did great work.
You know, might know that articulation and do that, but of course.
Yep.
you would have to do it.
Yep. Yep.
We have the articulation.
Yep. We have it in place with WCTC. I just want to make sure the students understand what it's, you know, again, it's our tuition versus, you know, everyone thinks that, and I talk to all my grandkids and their friends and that sort of thing. I'm talking grandkids now, not kids, grandkids, you notice that? I asked him, I said, I asked my granddaughter, what? And this is before I got involved at Carroll. I said, did you even look at Carroll? She goes, oh, no. I said, why? I couldn't afford that. I couldn't afford that is always the answer. You got to look at Carroll. You know, our tuition is everyone's stated tuition is quite high, but there's a lot of scholarships. We have a lot of scholarship money for engineers. There's a lot of scholarship money out there, a ton of it. So I would argue, and I didn't put the chart in here, I took it out. 4 years at Carroll is actually cheaper than going to UW System campus 5 years. Now, the students that go to a UW System campus and get out in 4, it's less expensive, but it's pretty rare. A lot of them don't apply their, 2 things happen. One thing, either they're not applying their credits like my granddaughter and decide to stay in longer, and or they change their major. You know, what do you think the average major change is for kids these days? And they keep telling me to quit calling them kids. I can't help myself. Students, how many times do they change? Average. 3. That's mind-boggling to me. I mean, in my day, you know, somebody would change once, maybe. I changed once. And thank God that the guy I was pre-law when I went in, and I had 2 classes in one semester, political theory and constitutional law, and the professor was just one of the, you know, he was a crusher. He was one of those guys. When he retired from Carroll, his average grade point that he issued to students was 2.2. That tells you anything about the guy. He was ruining my career. So I shifted from pre-law to business. So I shifted once, but the average is 3. That's just crazy. So we got to do a better job. And that's the other thing we're doing too. I took them out because I thought I'd run out of time, and I would have been happy to put them in there. We are really doing a lot of initiatives with the high schools. So our drone program, we're working with the high schools. We actually sponsor what they call Aerospace Jam. We do that with the Milwaukee Bucks. It's a competition every year at Fiserv Arena. We sponsor it in conjunction with NASA. The guy that runs our program at Carroll is ex-NASA. That's why we got the demand for our students, especially in the DoD side. But we do that with NASA. We do CISA, which is a middle school program, middle school and high school program. We do another thing where we work with, and a lot of companies do this, First Robotics. First Robotics is, it's kids building robots and they compete in competitions, but it's very, very popular. In Waukesha County, there are 1,300 middle school and high school students involved in First Robotics. That's a plus. That's big, that's huge, that's good for us. That's really good for us. What we have to do is move them from that discipline, try to keep them home, versus going to another school to do, mechanical engineering or robotics. That's the next thing we want to get in is robotics. Madison is the only school that has it. It's basically a specialty under mechanical engineering. Robots is huge, and especially in manufacturing. So we're trying to work with the high schools and the high school programs by sponsoring them. We sponsored Ice Storm. I don't know if you know what that is. Ice Storm is pretty cool. It's middle schoolers, high schoolers, and then professionals that race drones at the Pettit Center every April. We sponsor that program. It's insane. I mean, we will advertise it more so you can see it next time. They have the virtual headsets. These are kids. They have the headsets on. The drones are about this big, and they're moving through an obstacle course at Pettit Sports Center or Ice Center. And you have to watch it on the screens because these things are moving so fast and everything else. The professional, I love this. The middle schoolers always beat the high schoolers, and the professionals refuse to compete against the middle schoolers, which I think is wonderful. That's what young eyes and reaction time is and everything else. It's insane. So those are the things that we're trying to do to interest students in technology. And then, it's one thing to be in First Robotics in high school. It's kind of a fun activity, that sort of thing. They don't equate that with, a degree and a job. And we got to tie those things together. Right now, there's interest there. It's just we have to do it. So part of our construction plans, too, is we want to make sure that we actually have a venue to do more competitions. The problem with robotics is there's just not enough competitions. They work really hard to build these things, even middle schoolers, and they just don't have the type of regional competitions that they need. When we started doing Aerospace Jam a couple years ago, 50 schools from the state of Wisconsin raised their hands and said, how do we participate? How do we participate? The money comes from us and it comes from NASA, and it was a little bit too limited, but that wasn't the gating issue. We need to train the trainer. We need to train the science teachers and that sort of thing in the high schools to teach them how to build the drones. And so we got more money from NASA for next year, so that thing will expand. These are all things. You talk about this. It doesn't start at birth, but it does start in grade school. It starts in middle school. And when I talked to the superintendents and the counselors, I said, we got to be connected at the brain and the hip. I got to be connected with Rich Barnhouse and WCTC. We ought to be complementing each other and making sure people can see these career paths to these jobs that are out there. Because and this is controversial. I don't know why. Not everyone in academia believes that their job as an academic is to connect a student with a job. I'll give you one story, and this was mind-boggling to me. When I was rolling out the report, I met with all the chancellors from the University of Wisconsin system. And there were a couple others there. There were 16 at that day. And I started out by speaking to them. I said, look, at this report, you need to know right up front, 70% of the jobs in the state of Wisconsin do not pertain to anything that you do. And the one guy sitting right in front of me says, that's how you're starting your presentation? I said, just want to be up front with you. Want to be up front with you. And I said, just out of curiosity, I said, How many of you believe that, part of your job as an educator is to connect your students with employment? How many hands went up? 0. Except for one guy. He grabbed me at the break and he came back and says, "I'm sorry." He said, "I knew that was a response." He said, "I don't agree with that. I don't believe in that." And he said, "You just need to know that." The guy's name was Mike Lovell. Mike was running UW Milwaukee at the time. Then he eventually went to Marquette, and unfortunately Mike passed away. Mike was a rock star. He got it. He got it, but most don't. And so we have to kind of drive that thing as we go forward. Any other questions? Yes?
What do you see the role of internships moving forward?
Huge. Absolutely huge. Here's our problem right now. We got more internships than we have students. Isn't that crazy? We could probably fill 3 or 4 different internship, 3 or 4, a dozen internship requests in marketing, in finance, in accounting. We don't have enough students to meet the demand in Waukesha County. And we try to, we do slip into Milwaukee. And people, when I talk about, what we do, I said, look, we're based in Waukesha. I said, there's a lot going on in Waukesha. I showed you the numbers. I mean, they're crazy. I didn't show you the one I pulled some slides out because I didn't want to run out of time. There's one in there. We asked all businesses that would respond to the survey, who is growing their business next year, which was this year. 83% in Waukesha County are growing their business. I tell Paul Farrow, county exec, who happens to be a Carroll grad, I said, Paul, when your problem in your county is housing, you're winning. He goes, oh, easy for you to say. I got to figure out how to house these people. Waukesha County is on fire as far as a business community. It's on fire. I mean, any statistic you want to measure it by. If you want to be a student looking for an internship or a job, you want to be in Waukesha County. We can't fill all the internships, and we haven't put them in the school yet as a requirement, but that'll be next year, because there's a reason for that. First of all, I believe in them. I think it's really, really important that they see the real world firsthand. Employers are willing to pay those internships. It's their first kind of, for some of our students, it's their first really time to have to show up at 8 o'clock for a job and be presentable and do the job. Those are, they're learning soft skills. That's the other problem that this next generation has too. And so I want to make it mandatory. It's not going to be a problem at all. The one thing that I'm not really big on, but a lot of our employers here in Waukesha County are telling me they prefer it, are co-ops. I'd rather get them through an internship and get them out working. Co-ops, don't take this the wrong way. I think they're more advantageous for the employer than they are for the student. I think I think they can learn just as much as an internship and get out and get working. Yeah, so internships are typically, not always, but typically through the summertime. So, this summer, all of our students are out doing internships, paid internships. And they'll last through the summertime. It's usually when they're off school and that sort of thing, so they can work effectively full-time if they want to. Co-ops is they basically have to take a semester or 2 off and go to work at that location. Now, the payback is pretty good. I mean, most of those companies that offer co-ops, they basically take their best interns, offer them co-ops. They pay them a much higher rate, but they put them on projects. And quite frankly, somebody's going to call me when I say these things. They're getting really good talent really cheaply to do some very nice projects for them. That's just me. And I'm going to get a phone call. You watch, I'll get a phone call on that. Anything else? Because we're just about out of time. Hopefully it was informative. I think, what I'm really trying to do is drive the technology that is required by the industries that we serve. And, you know, I'm all ears. If there's a specific thing that you think we should be looking at, let me know. I don't make this stuff up. I go and find it. You know, I listen. I try to listen to people. And I'll give you an example. I was here last year. A young lady came up to me and she said, "Why don't you have construction management?" I said, "Construction management?" I researched it. There's a lot of jobs in construction management. More now than before. Cybersecurity. Cybersecurity. I mean, that's more of a Milwaukee thing maybe than a Waukesha type of thing, but cybersecurity is, you know, popular. I don't know if they're, you know, I haven't done the work on the jobs yet, those types of things. Obviously AI, we teach AI separately, and we also incorporate it into all of our programs. So, you know, business analytics. We teach AI for business analytics. We teach it in the accounting courses. We teach it everywhere. It's got to be incorporated everywhere. To teach it as a standalone is fine, but it's not the panacea that everyone thinks it might be. You know, it's just, it's in everything. Everything you do, you got to figure out how to incorporate it into everything you do. So whether it be finance, accounting, business analytics, business administration, marketing, it's going to be everywhere. And you got to know how to apply that tool into the discipline of your choice. Okay? Call me anytime. I'm all ears. Look, you know, that's why I came back. I came back to make sure that what we're doing is here to serve not only the students, but the industries that we really are here to serve, and that's you. Okay? Thanks for coming by today.